The air in the apartment on Rue Georges Tarasconfort is stagnant and tastes of acetone and unwashed bodies. It is too warm for November. He feels the friction of the suicide vest against his ribs, a heavy, constricting second skin that shifts with every breath. The chemical smell is a physical weight in his nostrils, sharp and fruity, like rotting apples mixed with bleach. It coats the back of his throat. His hands move in a mechanical loop. Check the battery, check the wires, check the switch. The TATP is unstable, a white crystalline powder packed tight, and he treats his own torso with the delicate, terrifying reverence of a bomb disposal technician. He traces the bumps of the shrapnel under the fabric, steel nuts and bolts taped down with blue adhesive. They are cold and hard against his stomach. The silence in the room is not empty, it is pressurized. He hears the breathing of the others, a collective rhythm of shallow, nervous intakes. The floor is covered in cheap mattresses and discarded pizza boxes, the cardboard stained with grease. He steps over a syringe used for the tubing, his boot catching on a loose corner of the linoleum. The sound of the plastic wrapper crinkling is violently loud. He doesn't look at their faces. He looks at their hands, at the way they adjust their detonators. He is a logistician of death. The synthetic fabric of his tracksuit creates a static charge that prickles his arms. He feels the sweat pooling at the base of his spine, a cold trickle that contradicts the heat of the room. He checks his phone. The screen is a sudden, blinding square of light in the dimness. 2038. The numbers are jagged pixels. He slides it into his pocket, feeling the hard rectangle press against his thigh right next to the detonator. The smell of diesel fumes from the street below drifts in through the cracked window, mixing with the acrid scent of the explosives. He swallows, but his mouth is dry, tasting of copper and anxiety. He walks to the door. The handle is loose, rattling in its frame. He grips it. The metal is cool. He opens it, and the draft from the hallway hits his face, smelling of damp concrete and old cooking oil. He descends the stairs. 1, 2, 3 flights. His footsteps are muffled by the rubber soles of his sneakers, but in his head, they sound like hammer strikes. The stairwell light flickers, a strobe effect that breaks his movement into disjointed frames. He reaches the ground floor. The night air of Bobigny is different. Thinner, cleaner, but carrying the wet, metallic scent of the coming rain. He walks to the black Renault Clio. The streetlights cast long, distorted shadows that stretch out like grasping hands. He unlocks the car. The beep of the remote is a high-pitched chirp that vanishes instantly into the hum of the city. He opens the door. The interior smells of plastic cleaner and stale tobacco. He slides into the driver's seat. The upholstery is stiff and unyielding. He adjusts the mirror. He sees only the dark void of the back seat where the others will sit. He grips the steering wheel. The texture is faux leather, grainy and cold under his palms. He squeezes it, testing the resistance, grounding himself in the tactile reality of the machine. He inserts the key. The ignition turns with a smooth, oiled click. The engine catches, a low vibration that travels up his arms and settles in his teeth. He does not think about the destination. He thinks about the clutch point. He thinks about the traffic. He is a delivery system. He puts the car in gear. The lever slots into place with a dull thud. He eases the car out of the parking spot, the tires crunching over the grit and debris of the gutter. He merges into the flow of headlights. The city is a blur of red and white streaks. He feels the weight of the passengers entering the car, the suspension dipping low, a physical acknowledgement of the payload. He drives. The road surface transmits every imperfection through the chassis, a rhythmic jarring that keeps his senses sharp. He counts the intersections. The windshield wipers are off, but he watches a single drop of condensation slide down the glass, a magnifying lens distorting the world outside. He is locked in. The timeline is a rigid bar of iron in his mind. He presses the accelerator. The engine whines. The velocity increases. He feels the G-force press him back into the seat, into the wires, into the bolts. He is part of the mechanism now. The Renault Clio is no longer just a car. It is a pressurized capsule moving through the artery of the A86 motorway. The suspension groans over a pothole, a dull metallic complaint that travels up through the floor mat and into the soles of his sneakers. He feels the extra mass of the 3 men and their payloads in the handling of the vehicle. The steering is sluggish, resisting his inputs with a heavy, lethargic drag. The air inside the cabin is thick, a humid soup of recycled heat, cheap musk cologne, and the underlying, inescapable, sharp tang of acetone peroxide. It tastes like copper on the back of his tongue. He keeps the windows up. He breathes through his mouth. His right hand rests on the gear stick, the plastic knob slick with the moisture from his palm. He shifts into third. The engine revs, a high-pitched whine that vibrates in his clavicle. He does not look at the rearview mirror to see the faces of the men behind him. He only feels their shifting weight, the rustle of nylon windbreakers rubbing against the explosive belts. It sounds like dry leaves scraping on concrete. The man in the passenger seat shifts his legs, and his knee bumps against the center console, a hard, bony knock that echoes in the small space. He focuses on the taillights of the truck in front of him, 2 burning red eyes in the darkness. The distance is measured in meters and seconds. He brakes. The pedal feels spongy, the deceleration pulling his body forward against the seatbelt, the strap digging into the soft tissue of his shoulder. The traffic is dense, a river of steel and glass flowing toward the stadium. He hears the muffled bass of music from a passing car, a rhythmic thumping that syncs weirdly with the pulse beating in his neck. He is hyper-aware of the mechanics of the car, the friction of the brake pads, the flow of fuel, the spark of the cylinders. He is just another component, the guidance system for the delivery. The glowing halo of the Stade de France rises above the highway barriers, a cold, artificial daylight that bleaches the night sky. The light hurts his eyes, gritty and intense. He activates the turn signal. The clicking sound is deafening in the silence of the cabin. Tock, tock, tock. It counts down the remaining moments. He steers the heavy car off the exit, the tires humming on the asphalt. The centrifugal force pulls him to the left, but he holds the line, his forearms tight, the tendons standing out like cables. He pulls into the drop-off zone. The engine idles, a nervous, shuddering vibration. He unlocks the doors. The mechanism clunks loudly. The transition is physical. He feels the sudden shift in air pressure as the doors open. The cold November wind rushes in, swirling the heavy chemical smell of the interior, biting his damp skin. The sounds of the street invade the car. Laughter, shouting, the distant roar of a crowd. The passengers exit. He feels the chassis of the Renault rise, lifting up on its springs as the weight leaves. The car becomes light, hollow, empty. It is a physical sensation of loss and relief. The doors slam shut. 1, 2, 3 impacts that shake the frame. He is alone. The seat beside him is empty, the fabric still warm from the body that occupied it. He grips the wheel, the leathers cooling under his hands. He puts the car in gear and it leaps forward, too responsive now, stripped of its purpose. He drives away from the light, back into the shadows of the underpass, the engine sound echoing off the concrete walls like a scream in a tunnel. The smell of the acetone lingers, stained into the upholstery, a ghost of the cargo he just delivered. He checks the time on the dashboard console. The digits glow orange. The timeline is advancing. He feels the vibration of the road again, but now it is just him and the machine, moving toward the next coordinate. The steering wheel feels thin in his hands. He swallows the metallic taste, but it remains. He accelerates. The air in the 18th arrondissement is a friction of cold wind and exhaust. He walks. He is no longer inside the armored shell of the car. He is exposed meat on the sidewalk of Rue Championnet. The suicide belt is a burning clamp around his waist, the heat of his own body trapped against the plastic explosive. It feels like a fever. He pulls his jacket tighter. The zipper is broken. He holds the fabric closed with a fist that won't stop trembling. He sees the eyes of a woman walking a dog. Her gaze is a physical touch, a laser dot on his forehead. She looks away. He thinks she knows. He thinks she saw the wire. He thinks she smelled the TATP. The paranoia is a high-frequency buzzing in his teeth. He counts his steps to keep the heart rate down. 1, 2, 3. A siren wails in the distance, not the American wail, but the two-tone French pin-pon, pin-pon. A sharp, dissonant interval that drills into his inner ear. It sounds like a mechanical scream. He stops. His legs feel like they are filled with wet sand. He touches his phone in his pocket. It is a dead weight. He removed the SIM card hours ago, but the phantom vibration still ghosts against his thigh. He buys a headset from a kiosk. The transaction is a blur of hands and coins. The coins are cold and smell of dirty copper. He doesn't look at the vendor. He looks at the counter, at the scratches in the plastic. He walks again. The metro station is a gaping mouth in the pavement, breathing out warm, stale air that smells of ozone and urine. He descends. The tiles are too bright. A clinical white that makes his eyes water. He hears the rumble of a train approaching, a deep, subterranean growl that shakes the platform beneath his feet. He boards. The doors hiss shut. The carriage is a vacuum of silence and staring faces. He sees a man reading a newspaper. He sees a girl with headphones. They are all watching him. He is sure of it. He presses his back against the glass partition. The vibration of the train travels through his spine, a constant rattling reminder of the motion he cannot control. He gets off at Châtillon-Montrouge. The name of the station sounds like a judgment. He surfaces. The night is darker here. He walks toward a pile of garbage bags on the curb. They glisten like wet organs under the street lamp. He unzips his jacket. The cold air hits his sweat-soaked shirt. He fumbles with the Velcro. The sound of it tearing is a rip in the fabric of the night. He peels the belt off. It is heavy, dense with death. He drops it into the trash. It lands with a soft, final thud among the refuse. He walks away. He feels lighter, but the phantom weight remains, a ghost limb of explosive pressure around his midsection. He is drifting now. He is a signal without a receiver. He finds a doorway. The stone step is freezing. He sits. He waits. The silence is not quiet. It is filled with the roar of his own blood. The dawn is not a sunrise. It is a slow, bruising shift from black to gray over the concrete skyline of Châtillon. He stands near the McDonald's, the golden arches rising like a plastic gateway to hell, their neon buzz audible in the quiet street. It is 5 o'clock. The air is damp and clings to his skin, smelling of wet asphalt and the synthetic, oily scent of frying potatoes venting from the kitchen. He shivers. It is not just the cold, it is the crash. The adrenaline has drained out of him, leaving his limbs heavy and his blood sugar plummeting. He feels the sweat drying on his back, a layer of cold slime between his skin and the cotton of his shirt. He watches the road. His eyes burn, the lids feeling like sandpaper against his corneas. Every pair of headlights that sweeps across the intersection is a physical assault, a sudden flash of heat that makes his stomach clench. He checks his phone again. The screen is cracked, a spiderweb of glass over the glowing name, Hamza. He presses the call button. The connection tone is a rhythmic, mocking purr in his ear. "Come get me," he whispers. His voice is a stranger's voice, hoarse, trembling, small. He leans against the brick wall of a closed shop. The rough texture digs into his shoulder blade, a grounding pain. He smells the faint, lingering odor of the suicide belt on his hands, a chemical ghost that won't wash off. He rubs his palms on his jeans over and over until the denim feels hot from the friction. A delivery truck rumbles past, its brakes squealing like a dying animal. He flinches. His heart restarts its frantic, jagged rhythm. He looks down at his sneakers. They are scuffed, covered in the dust of the city he just broke. He feels the vibration of a phone in his hand before he hears the ring. It is them. He answers. "Quote 1, he says. Quote 2. The words taste like ash. He sees the gray Volkswagen Golf turn the corner. It looks small, fragile. He pushes himself off the wall. His legs are stiff, the joints popping audibly. He walks toward the car. The morning fog is lifting, revealing the mundane horror of a normal Tuesday beginning. He reaches for the door handle. It is wet with dew. He opens it. The interior smells of stale cannabis smoke and Red Bull. It smells like safety. It smells like a trap. He climbs in. The door shuts, sealing him inside the moving coffin once more. The motorway is a gray ribbon of tension, the A1 stretching north like an infinite concrete tongue. He sits in the back seat of the Golf, knees pressed against the front seat, a cramped, fetal position that makes his joints ache. The air in the car is thick with the sweet, skunky smoke of hashish, a fog that Hamza and Mohammed are using to suffocate their own panic. It burns his eyes. He doesn't smoke. He breathes shallowly, tasting the resin on his tongue. The window is cracked open an inch, and the sound of the wind is a high-pitched whistle that cuts through the silence. He sees the blue lights first. They are strobing in the distance, a rhythmic pulse of authority against the dull sky. The brake lights of the cars ahead bloom like red flowers, a sea of them. "Put it out," he snaps. His voice is a dry crack. A two crushes the joint into the ashtray, the embers dying with a faint hiss. The smell remains, clinging to the upholstery, to their clothes, to his skin. They roll forward. The friction of the tires on the asphalt is a slow, grinding sound. He sees the police officers. They are black silhouettes in yellow vests, their hands resting near their holsters. He feels the weight of the pistol he doesn't have. He feels the phantom detonator in his pocket. He is naked. The car stops. The window rolls down. The cold air rushes in, smelling of diesel and damp earth, clashing with the warm hash smoke. The officer leans in. His face is a landscape of pores and stubble, his eyes hidden behind sunglasses despite the gray light. He sniffs. His nose wrinkles. "Quote 4, the officer says. It is not a question, it is an accusation. Hamza nods, his hands gripping the wheel so hard the knuckles are white bone. Quote 5. The officer waves a hand, dismissing the smoke, dismissing them. Quote 6, he says, the words are a physical blow, not the priority. He looks at the officer's belt, at the handcuffs, at the radio. He is invisible. He is a ghost passing through a wall. The officer waves them through. The window rolls up. The car accelerates. The vibration of the engine returns, a steady, mocking hum. He leans back, his head hitting the headrest with a dull thud. He closes his eyes. The darkness behind his eyelids is filled with the strobe of the blue lights, flashing over and over, printing themselves onto his retina. He is alive. He is dead. He is moving north. The apartment in Molenbeek is a tomb of stale air and drawn curtains. He sits on the mattress, his back against the peeling wallpaper. It feels rough, like dried skin. The room smells of unwashed clothes and the metallic tang of canned tuna. He has not left this square of carpet in days. Outside, the sirens are a constant wailing chorus, a sonic net tightening around the neighborhood. He hears the heavy boots of a patrol on the cobblestones below. Clack, clack, clack. Each step is a hammer strike on his skull. He looks at his hands. They are pale, the nails bitten down to the quick, the cuticles ragged and red. He feels the phantom vibration of the detonator switch under his thumb, a muscle memory that won't fade. He touches his chest. The ribs are hard ridges under his shirt. No vest, no wires, just bone and a heart that beats too fast, a frantic, bird-like fluttering that he can feel in his throat. He picks up the remote. The plastic buttons are greasy. He turns on the TV. The volume is low, a murmur of voices discussing the dead. He sees his own face on the screen. It is a black and white passport photo, frozen, dead-eyed. Public enemy number 1. The words are abstract shapes. He doesn't recognize the man in the picture. That man had a mission. That man had a future. He has only this room. He stands up, his knees pop. He walks to the window and pulls the curtain back a millimeter. The slice of light cuts his eye like a razor. He sees the police van parked on the corner, the blue light rotating silently. He lets the curtain fall. Darkness returns, heavy and comforting. He lies down. The pillow smells of someone else's hair oil. He stares at the ceiling. There is a water stain in the corner, shaped like a map of a country that doesn't exist. He closes his eyes. The silence of the room expands, pressing against his ears until it becomes a roar. He waits for the door to crash open. He waits for the shouting. He waits for the end. But there is only the dripping of a faucet in the kitchen. Plip, plip, plip. It is the loudest sound in the world. He is not a soldier. He is not a martyr. He is a man in a box, waiting for the lid to be nailed shut. The cold from the floor seeps into his bones. He pulls his knees to his chest. He stops moving. He stops thinking. He just listens to the sirens and the beating of his own treacherous heart.